Let's continue our discussion and focus on Internet and web applications. Now, as indicated in our previous discussion, we said that we do get various versions of sites, Web 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0. Now, it's important to realize that because we have the ability to put a lot of content and images and multimedia on the web, it has actually gained a lot of popularity. And it's considered to be the most popular means of delivering information in our daily lives today. Now, we've seen that with the Web 2 developments, that streaming video, interaction, social media, all of those were pushed to the foreground. Instead of having individuals developing content, the focus is now placed on everybody that uses the internet. So Web 2 typically refers to any dynamic web applications that allow people to collaborate and to share information online. Now, when we talk about web applications, it's important to realize that we do get various formats. One of which is called RIA, Rich Internet Applications. Now, RIA is actually software that has the functionality and complexity of our traditional applications that we now can use through our web browsers. For example, if you think about applications such as Word and Excel, in the past you had to buy the software and install it on your local computer. Nowadays, with Office 365, where they provide it through cloud processing, you can actually have the full-fledged application and access it through web browser type environments. So what we found is they've introduced us to a powerful web delivered applications which has taken the web from a basic content delivery platform to a more interactive platform where all of our applications and games can be found on the website. Some other examples include, if you look at the images, our range of Google applications and even applications provided by Adobe. RIA is actually continuously improving. You guys will see that they make use of various programming languages which will ensure that more rich content will be delivered in the future through means of the web. So what is the type of web services and information services that we do find? In most cases, we find news type sites, education and training sites, business and job information sites, as well as various personal and professional advice and support sites. Now, it's important to note that these are just some basic categories. There's actually hundreds more. There's gaming sites, there's portals, there's search engines, etc. Now let's look at a few of these as part of our examples. Under education and training, it's actually nice to realize that universities such as MIT actually do provide you with a lot of online courses, and in many cases for free. So you can go to their site, you can register, and you can follow a course without paying a cent for it. So this is one of the examples. Some other examples of internet-based sites that we do find, one of the more popular ones is perhaps Google. Now, Google is a search engine which has become a very valuable tool that enables us to go and find information on the web. So you would typically find or type in a few keywords, and based on your keywords, it's going to return a list of possible sites that it actually linked up to those set of keywords. Now, there's a definition that we need to know for this, and this is actually known as search engine optimization. Now, if you go and develop a site, and many companies will probably ask you, if you develop a site for them, that they want to improve their search rankings whenever people search for them in Google. And the way to do that is through search engine optimization. So it's a process, it's a strategy that you're going to use to drive traffic to a website and to improve the overall ranking of a site. Now, if you think back in our previous discussion when we talked about HTML, I said that under the heading section, we can have a description for the website in the form of metadata. So metadata would be keywords that you're going to use for your site, and these can be registered with search engines. So whenever anybody searches for one of the keywords, your site would be returned as a possible site example. Now, just for interest sake, if you look on the right hand side bottom, whenever you work with Google, there's some additional phrases that you can use, or keywords and operands that you can use in order to make your searches more valuable. And this is actually something nice to remember, especially for your projects and studies. So the recommendation is play around with these and see the difference between the types of results that you're going to encounter. Now let's go over and talk about web portals. Now, web portals can be considered as web pages that combines a lot of useful information and links, and that typically acts as an entry point to the internet or to the web. There's a bunch of these examples available. I don't think it's that popular anymore, but typically they would include a search engine, subject directories, headlines, and various other interests that you've specified. So for example, if we look at Google, Google actually had a web portal known as iGoogle. So you can go and log into iGoogle. It provides you with the basic search facilities, and then it's also going to allow you to go and select whatever your interests are. And it's going to place these content links on top of your site. Now, if you think about this, previously we talked about mashups, web mashups, and this is a nice example of a web mashup. So in this case, they give us sport information or quotes, they give us our stock market information, weather information, some movies that's going to be displayed, as well as some links and references to other websites. Some other internet applications that's available on the internet, and we're going to look at some of these in more detail, is your Web 2 and social media applications, rich internet applications that we've already started to mention, blogging and podcasting, online shopping, travel, geolocation and navigation, then various communication and collaboration type sites, as well as ending off with online media and entertainment. Now let's look at the first one, Web 2 and social media. Now, as indicated, the web has evolved from a one-directional to a two-directional resource, going from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0. And some of the drivers for this was actually Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. So people could now go and contribute their own content to the websites, and these would have been delivered to their friends associated with them or anybody that viewed their web pages. Now, there's a few definitions that we need to take note of. The first one is known as microblogging. Now, microblogging is similar to creating blogs, but it's just in a smaller format. For example, if you use Twitter, it would limit the range of characters that you can post to, I think it's roughly 160 characters. So these would be your smaller blogs that you're going to post. Another example of that applies to this particular category is social bookmarking. Now, yet again, in South Africa, I don't think it's that popular, but overseas, there's various sites such as dig.com, delicious.com that allows people to actually go and show a lot of their social bookmarks, their interest online, and then their friends can actually go and vote and follow these types of bookmarks. The last definition that's important here is known as Enterprise 2.0. Now, businesses are slowly but surely starting to realize the importance of social interaction, and we do find that a lot of them are nowadays including Twitter feeds, Facebook accounts, YouTube accounts, etc. So they recommend that people go and like their pages, subscribe to their pages, so whenever they want to publish new information, that it's automatically broadcast to the overall audience. The next set of definitions that we need to look at is the difference between blog, RSS feeds and podcasts. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with some of these concepts, but let's just quickly touch on them. A blog is also known as a weblog, which means that people can go and they can write about their observations and experiences. So it's almost like a personal diary. So you're going to create a blog and you're going to post a lot of entries similar to what you guys have done in your individual assignment. A community of blogs are typically known as a blogosphere. So let's say we have blog websites and most of them contain or relate to technology. That would be known as a blogosphere. The person writing a blog entry is known as a blogger. The actual process is known as blogging. And then the video format for blogs is actually known as video logs or vlogs. The next definition is RSS, Real Simple Syndication. Now, Real Simple Syndication is actually a collection of technologies that allow people to subscribe to web content. So let's say, for argument's sake, you like a website where they post a lot of articles and feeds or updates. So you can actually subscribe to their RSS feed, and whenever they have new content, that would be delivered to your computer or your device to a RSS application. So without you having to go to their website, you get an update of all the content that they've posted. So the same applies to a site such as news24.com. Instead of going to the site, you can subscribe to their news feed and they will post any updates automatically to your device. The last definition on this site that we need to look at is known as a podcast. Now, a podcast is any audio recording that we want to share or deliver over the internet. So classes that are recorded, people talking about their experiences, instead of writing it down, they can record it in audio format, and then this will be made available to their followers. Now let's go over and talk about online shopping, and we're going to do this in more detail when we refer to chapter 5. E-tail stores are generally online versions of retail stores. So it's electronic stores that's available, it's retail stores, that's available electronically. For example, you would find that most of the bigger companies such as ShopRite, Pick-a-Pay, those guys, they would have an online shop where people can actually go and buy their products, and they would have a delivery service. So the nice thing about this is it provides you access to various products. You sit at the comfort of your own device or home, and you can actually go and do your shopping. The next thing that's important is known as cyber malls. Now, a cyber mall can be defined as a collection of stores that is provided online in order for you to do your shopping. So instead of going to a physical mall, you would go to a website. They would have a list of online shops available. You can go to each of the online shops and you can do your shopping. So these are actually some very nice examples. In South Africa, we don't find a lot of these, but it's really something that one can invest in. A lot of these sites are aligned with your popular portals such as Yahoo, AOL, MSN, iGoogle, where you can actually go and link it to those portals and you get access to that information. Now, there's also some other sites that allows you to go and keep track of prices, for example, pricecheck.co.za, where if you like to buy a certain product, they can actually go and tell you which site has that particular product and what the different prices are for it. The next slide shows you an example of an online shop. So this is kalahari.com, where you can actually go into the shop and you can buy products based on various categories. Again, there's hundreds more available, takealot.com, etc. You guys are free to go and explore these as you have time. Let's continue and talk about travel, geolocation and navigation. Another important thing that we realize or that we find nowadays is that whenever people take photographs or as they're using their mobile devices, it tries to keep track of where you are. So it would ask you if you want to check into certain shops or buildings, or if you take a photograph, whether it should actually record the location of that photograph. Now, this concept is known as geotagging. So it's going to include all the geospatial data, such as your GPS coordinates, and it's going to link it as part of the description or metadata of your images. Lastly, we do find sites such as Google Maps or Bing Maps, where you actually have a website that shows you how to get to a specific location. So you would type in your destination and it's going to show you from where you are, how to get there. It's going to show you various routes, various modes of transport, and then you can go and select the one that you find is most appropriate. If we continue to talk about communication and collaboration, we do have various examples available, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because it is mainly user independent, but typically communication takes place in the form of email, your WeChats, your WhatsApps, your SMSs. We have stuff such as Skype, where you want to conduct video conferencing, where you want to make use of Twitter for microblogging. Some additional examples include instant messaging, where you have various applications that's available, which allows you to actually go and talk and interact with your friends. Other examples of communication collaboration. Here's a screenshot of Skype, where you can actually go and download the application to your mobile devices or your computers, and it allows you to link up to other Skype users and to communicate with them. Again, associated with online media and entertainment, there's various categories available, and we're not going to go into all of them. For example, you can find sites related to music and movies and video and television and various other formats. So it typically comes down to the type of information you want, and you can just go and search for that, and you would be linked up to those types of sites. Now, the last thing we need to know regarding applications is some internet utilities that we do find that we might need to work with. Now, these three are also important, and students typically forget about them. So we need to know what is FTP. I'm going to start with the last one. What is FTP? FTP stands for the File Transfer Protocol, which actually supports the transfer of files between a host and a remote computer. So technically you can share your files on your device, you can make it available through FTP, you can give your friends user accounts and they will log in order to gain access to your files. Now, going together with this is two additional concepts known as Telnet and Secure Shell. Telnet was actually a network protocol that enables people to log onto networks remotely over the internet. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're sitting at home and you want to access your company's network. Through Telnet, you would be able to log into that network, gaining access to it as if you were sitting in your office working on that computer. SSH, or Secure Shells, this is the Telnet functionality that's provided through a secure connection. So whenever you're scared that people might hack into your accounts, you would actually use SSH. Now, to conclude the chapter, we're going to move over and talk about intranets and extranets. Now, you guys might have heard about these concepts, and it's important to know the difference between each one of them. So let's go and look at the definitions. The intranet is actually a powerful alternative to your making your computing resources available to your employees and perhaps people working in your company. So it is relatively expensive because you need to set up a private network. It's only going to be available to people within your organization. So typically we would find that we need to give them access, and we need to secure the information presented in our organization. For example, if we think in terms of UWC, staff and students can actually access personal or private UWC related information by logging in through an intranet, or you guys will log in through a student portal, where it provides you information that is related to your requirements. For example, timetables for finances, your marks, etc. Now, on the opposite side, we have extranets. Now, extranet is an intranet that's just a little broader. So instead of keeping it to people inside the company, we can extend it to include it or make it available to our customers, our suppliers, or other business partners. So we're going to extend the range of our availability of our content. People will still need to have access in order to gain access to our extranet, and they will log in and they will see the information that's presented to them. Now, when we talk about intranets and extranets, we need to consider VPN, virtual private networks, as well as tunneling. Now, in most cases, companies would go and secure the information, and they don't want everybody to gain access to their resources. So they can make use of a virtual private network, which would allow them to set up a secure connection between 2 points on the internet. For example, the person that wants to get information from the company would be point 1, and the actual company service would be the second point. Now, VPN works through a process known as tunneling. Now, tunneling is where it takes the information, which will be in the form of packets. It's going to be broken into smaller chunks. So it's going to take the packets, it's going to encapsulate it with the destination addresses, and then those packets will be sent securely over the internet. Now, let's try to understand this by showing an image. If we look at the intranet, we've got a lot of people in our company that function or that use the resources available in our company. So it's only available to insiders. If we look at extranet, we've got our employees, we've got our customers, we've got our suppliers, and all of them gain access to our resources. In order to make it secure, both of these might need to use VPN, a virtual private network, and then when information is sent between the various individuals, it should be sent through a process known as tunneling, where the information would be broken up into chunks, packets. They would be encapsulated with important information, and these would be sent over the internet. Now that concludes our discussion of telecommunications. As part of a class activity, think about cloud computing. What do you feel about it? Are you happy with cloud computing? Are you using it on a regular basis? Are there some security or ethical concerns with regards to cloud computing? So think about this, try to discuss it with a few friends. Also, try to create a concept or mind map to try to summarize all the content that was presented. And then please feel free to go and look at some of the supportive audio and video. There's some nice videos that shows you the basics about communication, as well as various Google applications. How does searching work? What does the actual Google data center look like? What can we expect in the future with Internet of Things? And perhaps what is web analytics and how it influences your daily lives. So please take some time, look at these additional aspects and grasp the concepts that we covered in this particular chapter.